Some men reach a point where even breathing feels like work, where every step forward drags pain behind it, where the fight has gone on so long that victory feels like a rumor and quitting begins to look like mercy. If that is where you stand, then this message did not come to you. It came for you. There are battles so heavy that the world will never understand them. The nights you spent awake staring into darkness. The moments when your strength broke, but your responsibilities didn't. The days when you kept moving, not because you were brave, but because you had no choice. And then there is the fight inside, the one you never speak of, the silent war between the man you want to be and the man life has beaten down. That is the battlefield where destinies are decided long before the world ever sees the outcome. You may believe you are growing weaker, but exhaustion is not weakness. It is the mark of one who has carried more than others could endure. It is the mark of one who has carried more than others could endure. Only a man who has fought long enough to bleed, break, and rise again ever feels what you feel now. Before you think of giving in, consider this. The moment a man becomes tired of fighting is often the moment his breakthrough draws near. Pressure intensifies before transformation. Darkness deepens before daylight. The enemy fights hardest when he senses you are close to escaping his reach. Look back at everything you survived. You have endured storms that would have destroyed someone with half your courage. You have risen after blows that would have ended someone with twice your strength. The very fact that you are still here proves you are stronger than your doubt wants you to believe. Ask yourself, why would this message reach you today of all days? Why now, when your spirit feels thin and your patience feels gone? Because you were not meant to fall here because the path behind you has been and your patience feels gone. Because you were not meant to fall here because the path behind you has been too costly and the path before you is too great. The deepest fatigue comes when a man is fighting the wrong battles or fighting the right battles without a clear reason. But once you reconnect with your purpose, strength returns and surges, weariness melts, courage sharpens, and the fire you thought was dead roars back with renewed force. Imagine the future version of yourself watching this moment. Imagine his face, stronger, steadier, victorious. Imagine him whispering to you, "Do not give in now. You are closer than you think." That is not imagination. Than you think. That is not imagination. That is the man you will become if you refuse to collapse today. Think of those who depend on your rise. Think of the people who would lose hope if you surrendered. Think of the lives that will be touched by the strength you build in this hour. Your endurance is not for you alone. It is the foundation for everyone who walks after you. The world sees only the surface, but the universe responds to what is beneath it. The decision, the resolve, the refusal. If you continue even one more step, even one more hour, even one more attempt, you shift the balance of your life forever. And hear this clearly. I am not asking you to feel strong. I am asking you to continue. Victory belongs not to the man who feels powerful, but to the man who moves forward even when power seems gone. Keep going because everything you have survived has prepared you for what is coming next. There comes a time in every man's journey when the air feels thick, when each breath drags like iron across the chest, and even the smallest task seems to demand the strength of giants. This is not failure. This is not weakness. This is the mark of one who has carried more than most would dare to lift. For exhaustion is not the language of defeat. It is the language of endurance. Only he who has walked far enough into the storm ever feels the weight of the rain. Only he who has refused to kneel before circumstance knows the ache of standing. When the body trembles and the spirit seems to fade, know this. The struggle you face is the proof that you have stayed in the fight. The weak never grow weary, for they withdraw long before weariness can find them. It is the strong who reach the edges of fatigue. The man who feels tired of fighting is not broken. He is being tested, refined, stretched to discover the hidden reserve that infinite intelligence placed within him before he was born. There are two kinds of battles that men fight. One is visible with tasks, deadlines, and responsibilities that the world can see. The other is fought in silence, visible with tasks, deadlines, and responsibilities that the world can see. The other is fought in silence in the narrow corridors of the mind where doubt whispers and faith flickers. The second battle is the heavier of the two, for it is fought without witnesses and without applause. The outer struggle is against circumstance. The inner struggle is against surrender, and the inner struggle is the one that decides destiny. The world will never understand what you have carried. They will not see the nights when you stared into darkness, nor the mornings when you rose with nothing left but obligation, yet infinite intelligence has kept count. Each act of endurance is recorded in the unseen balance of life. While others measure success by comfort, the law of the Spirit measures it by persistence. You are not being punished by difficulty. You are being prepared for command. I call fatigue the tax of destiny. Every man who stands on the edge of transformation must pay it. Of destiny. Every man who stands on the edge of transformation must pay it. The greater the calling, the higher the price. Fatigue is the signal that something within you is growing beyond its current shell. When the seed breaks open, it does not mourn its shell, it surrenders it. The same law applies to man. You are shedding what can no longer contain you. Desire, true desire, is not a flame that flickers for excitement. It is the anchor that keeps you from being carried away by the winds of despair. It is not only the beginning of all achievement. It is the rope that holds you upright when storms attempt to unmake you. When you grow tired, do not look at your exhaustion. Look at your desire. Fan it. Speak to it. Remind yourself of what first drew you to your purpose. For fatigue only grows in the absence of meaning. A man who grows weary while serving a shallow aim collapses quickly, for there is nothing in the work to return strength to his soul. Serving a shallow aim collapses quickly, for there is nothing in the work to return strength to his soul. But a man who fights for purpose finds renewal even in pain. The mind that knows why it suffers can endure almost anything. Your purpose is the medicine for your exhaustion. Consider the life of Abraham Lincoln. He was not a man born into ease. He faced failure after failure, defeat after defeat. He buried children. He led a divided nation that cursed his name. Yet he kept his vision before him like a distant lamp on a stormy road. His body broke with illness, his heart with grief, but his faith and purpose held him upright. He did not seek rest in retreat. He found it in obedience to the task for which he believed he was born. So I tell you, hold your purpose before you. Let it be the axis on which your thoughts turn. When you forget your purpose, fatigue feels unbearable. When you remember it, even your pain feels like progress. Men misunderstand weariness. They believe it to be a sign to stop. I say it is a sign to focus. You are not meant to carry every burden, but you are meant to carry one with all your strength. Narrow your effort to that which matters most. When a man disperses his energy among too many concerns, he becomes divided, and division weakens, unity of purpose strengthens. A tired mind that tries to think of everything at once collapses. A tired mind that clings to one clear objective finds new life. Look to the blacksmith who shapes iron. The hammer does not strike once and stop. Blow after blow falls upon the metal until its shape is true. The heat does not destroy the iron. It makes it ready to be molded into strength. So too does life strike the man of purpose. He does not beg for the hammer to cease. He endures until the blows reveal the shape of his destiny. For the hammer to cease. He endures until the blows reveal the shape of his destiny. The law of life is simple. What cannot endure pressure does not deserve permanence. Gold is tested by fire. Character is tested by struggle. Do not curse the fire that refines you. It is the proof that something precious lies within. I have met many men who sought success but grew weary when the path grew narrow. They mistook discomfort for defeat. They failed to see that weariness is a teacher. It tells you what must change, what must strengthen, what must be simplified. It teaches patience. It removes pride. It reveals what truly matters. If you listen, fatigue will not destroy you. It will instruct you. There is within every man what I call the quiet reservoir. It cannot be seen by others. It does not show itself in easy seasons. It reveals itself only when the outer strength has failed. It is that deep reserve placed in the soul by infinite intelligence, waiting for the moment when all visible help is gone. When you believe you have nothing left, and yet one more step appears that is the quiet reservoir opening within you. It is not new strength. It is ancient strength remembered. Faith is the key that unlocks it. But faith, as I use the word, is not a mere feeling. It is a lantern carried in the dark. It gives no warmth. It gives direction. It does not remove the night. It helps you walk through it. When a man carries such a lantern, he may not see the end of the road, but he sees the next steps you walk through it. When a man carries such a lantern, he may not see the end of the road, but he sees the next step. That is enough. Step by step, he crosses the valley others feared to enter. Say to yourself in such hours, I am not finished. I am being strengthened. My burden reveals my purpose. I continue even when weary because the future is already forming within me. Each affirmation is not a comfort. It is a command to the subconscious mind to obey your higher will. Speak them not as a beggar pleads, but as a king decrees. For words, when believed, summon unseen forces to your aid. The man who speaks faith creates movement within his own mind, and movement within the mind creates direction in the world. Think of Thomas Edison, who worked through thousands of failures before creating the electric light. The world saw a weary man in a workshop, creating the electric light. The world saw a weary man in a workshop. Infinite intelligence saw a man chiseling his purpose out of the invisible. Each failure was not the end. It was a refinement. Each night of exhaustion was not a waste. It was an apprenticeship in mastery. The light he sought appeared only after his persistence had proven that he would not surrender the search. So too will it be with you. The light you seek will not appear because you wish for it, but because you refuse to give up your pursuit. When it seemed impossible, you are closer to your triumph than your fatigue would have you believe. The darkest hours of the night belong to the moments before dawn. Understand this law. A man grows tired when he fights with scattered aims. Purpose unifies strength. When your energy feels divided, pause not to rest, but to realign. Ask yourself, what am I truly fighting for? Then what am I truly fighting for? Then gather all your forces behind that one aim. A single river cuts through stone where 100 streams evaporate in the sun. The world misjudges the weary. It looks at the man who is bowed and says he is defeated. But infinite intelligence sees differently. It sees the man who has not turned back, who still breathes purpose, though his voice is silent. The law of life does not measure progress by applause. It measures it by persistence. The man who crawls toward his goal advances more than the man who sprints in the wrong direction. The tax of destiny cannot be avoided. Every man who desires greatness must pay it in long nights, in unseen labor, in solitude. But do not mistake payment for punishment. The cost exists to prove the value of your desire. If success were free, it would have no power to change you. The price purifies the purpose. You may say, I have been strong for too long. I say then, you are ready to discover real strength. The strength that comes after exhaustion is not the strength of muscle. It is the strength of mind. It is the calm that says, I will continue. It is the quiet decision that moves mountains. When you feel that no one sees your effort, remember this. The law of compensation never sleeps. Every seed of endurance, the law of compensation never sleeps. Every seed of endurance planted in silence grows into reward in its season. The universe does not forget the man who persists. He may be unseen by men for a time, but he is never forgotten by infinite intelligence. If you could look ahead and see the man you are becoming, you would thank the fatigue that built him. You would see that every sleepless night was shaping the character of one who cannot be broken. The man you will become will look back at this hour and whisper, that was the moment I stopped pretending to be weak. I tell you again, exhaustion is not an enemy. It is the signal that your growth is near completion. When the metal is nearly forged, the fire grows hottest. When the runner nears the finish, his breath burns. These are not punishments. They are signs of proximity to victory. If you stand at the edge of surrender, remember why this message found you. It did not come to comfort you. It did not come to comfort you. It came to awaken you. It came to remind you that you have already survived everything that tried to stop you. It came to whisper that the path behind you has been too costly to abandon. Now you are not at the end. You are at the bend before the ascent. Hold a single line of purpose. Refuse to divide your energy among lesser things. The man who knows his aim becomes indestructible. Emotion may falter, the will may tremble, but the man who keeps his aim before him cannot fall. Infinite intelligence moves unseen resources toward him, for the universe always assists the one who refuses to betray his own purpose. There will come a time soon when your present weariness will seem like a small price for the peace that follows persistence. You will look back and understand that fatigue was the veil covering your next level of strength. You will bless the nights that forced you inward, for in them you found the quiet reservoir from which all true power flows. Now take a moment and breathe. You have not lost your way. You are being guided by the same law that carried Lincoln through despair, Edison through failure, and every man of destiny through his valley. Trust that law. Trust that you are not being buried. You are being planted. The soil of struggle is the womb of greatness. Repeat to yourself until your heart believes it. I am not finished. I am being strengthened. My burden reveals my purpose. I continue even when weary because it reveals my purpose. I continue even when weary because the future is already forming within me. Let these words become your shield. Speak them when doubt rises. Speak them when silence surrounds you. Speak them until they are no longer words, but identity. And as you whisper them tonight, remember no man collapses while his purpose remains alive within him. The body may tire, the heart may ache, but the spirit bound to a clear purpose cannot die. You have not reached the end of your strength. You have reached the gate where true strength begins. The message has found you because you are ready to rise again. The quiet reservoir waits within. The purpose that once called you still calls. Lift your head, steady your breath, and continue. For tomorrow's triumph depends on this hour's endurance. I continue because my purpose commands it. I endure because my future requires it. I am being forged, not finished. Now we move forward to rebuild the fire that will carry you beyond fatigue into mastery. There comes a silent hour in the life of every weary man when the battle ceases to roar and the dust settles upon the field of his thoughts. It is the moment after struggle when the mind drained of motion stands still long enough to hear the voice within. That voice whispers a question older than time itself. Will you rise or will you remain? It does not speak in thunder, for truth rarely shouts. It waits, calm and unwavering, for the man to choose. Every destiny turns upon that moment. I have seen men of great talent crumble, not from defeat, but from indecision. They waited for the storm to end before moving forward, never realizing that the storm ends only when a man decides it shall no longer control his direction. The weakest man can grow powerful the instant he claims the authority to decide. For decision is not an act of thought. It is the act that commands thought to obey. There is a sacred law in life that I call the redirected will. It is the point at which pain ceases to scatter a man's mind and begins to sharpen it. Until that moment, pain rules him. Afterward, he rules pain. Despair loses its claws the instant it is seized and directed toward purpose. The force that once pulled you downward becomes the energy that lifts you upward when guided by will. All suffering contains power. It is only destructive when resisted, only transformative when accepted and redirected. Every man who has risen from hardship has practiced this law, whether he knew it by name or not. Henry Ford, when the world called him foolish for envisioning a car for the common man, met ridicule not with surrender, but with decision. He did not fight his critics. He ignored them. He turned his will inward and said, "I will build it nonetheless." In that quiet moment, power was born. The engines of the world began to move, not when steel met fire, but when one man's mind ceased to drift. A man cannot fight exhaustion forever by effort alone. He must shift from reaction to command. The moment you say, "I choose my direction," life itself begins to arrange its currents to serve you. Infinite intelligence responds to definitesse. The sea does not part for hesitation. It parts for conviction. Decision is the blade that cuts away hesitation. Conviction. Decision is the blade that cuts away hesitation. Without it, a man bleeds energy through doubt until his spirit grows faint. With it, every ounce of him points forward. Understand this well. The burden that breaks most men is not labor, but uncertainty. They question, they waver. They wait for conditions to perfect themselves. They forget that conditions bow to command, not to complaint. He who stands firm on decision does not wait for strength. His decision becomes strength. The man who chooses a definite course, while others hesitate, soon appears to them as a giant, though he began with no greater power than they. In the stillness of my years observing men of achievement, I learned this truth. Weakness is not the absence of power, but the misdirection of it. You are never powerless. You are only divided. The energy that fuels fear is the same energy that could build faith if guided rightly. The fire that burns in anger could warm your resolve if you but command it. The man who masters his will does not remove emotion. He gives it employment. There exists within every mind what I have called the inner court. It is the unseen chamber where all thoughts appear to offer their counsel. Desire, fear, faith, doubt, anger, courage, all gather there and make their plea for attention. The untrained man listens to them all and grows weary in confusion. The master of his mind listens, selects, and commands. He decides which thoughts shall live and which shall die. From that moment forward, his life reflects the order of his inner kingdom. When the world grows loud and chaos surrounds you, withdraw into your inner court and hold counsel with your purpose. Ask it what it requires of you and obey without hesitation. Let fear present its arguments, but do not grant it the throne. Let doubt speak, but do not let it sign your decrees. A mind ruled by its lower voices will always find itself enslaved by circumstance. But a mind that rules itself becomes the architect of destiny. Men are not defeated by adversity. Men are not defeated by adversity. They are defeated by their interpretation of it. I have seen two men face the same misfortune. One rose, the other sank. The difference lay not in the event, but in their verdict upon it. One said, "This has come to destroy me." The other said, "This has come to shape me." The same fire that melts wax hardens clay. The same pressure that breaks a rock forms a diamond. What you decide, the struggle means, determines what it will become. Most men break not from hardship, but from indecision about what hardship signifies. If you see it as punishment, it will destroy you. If you see it as preparation, it will crown you. The law is impartial. It obeys your belief. Infinite intelligence responds to your inner declaration with mathematical precision. Speak defeat, and defeat will be arranged. Speak determination, and determination will become your companion. When I speak of faith, I do not mean a mere hope that things will turn out well. Faith in its highest form is an act of will. It is the refusal to surrender command to fear. It is not a mood. It is mastery. It is the quiet voice that says, "Though I do not see the bridge, I shall walk toward the other side." This is the secret that rebuilds power when all visible help is gone. I have seen men of great intellect fail because they doubted too long, and men of this talent succeed because they decided too soon for doubt to enter. The world often mistakes intelligence for power, but it is decision that moves mountains. The most brilliant plan accomplishes nothing without will behind it. Just as a ship without a rudder drifts, no matter how strong the wind, when your mind feels uncertain, remember this. It is not knowledge you lack, but courage to choose. From this moment, adopt a single declaration. My will moves my world. Speak it until the muscles of your mind grow firm beneath it. You have been waiting for strength to come before deciding, yet the law of life decrees that strength comes after decision. The act of choice awakens forces dormant within. Infinite intelligence assists the man who has chosen his path, not the man who endlessly debates it. Observe again the example of Andrew Carnegie. He began with nothing but an idea and the determination to turn it into reality. His boldness was often called madness, yet his decisions shaped industries and changed nations. When others hesitated, he acted. He said, "I will build a bridge of steel across the Mississippi River." Experts mocked him, even his friends doubted, but his decision gathered men, materials, and money around him as if magnetized by purpose. That is how life responds to clarity. Decision does not require the absence of fear. It requires mastery of it. Courage is not the denial of trembling. It is movement in spite of it. The man who advances while afraid is more powerful than the man who feels nothing. The world respects the one who chooses to act when his hands shake. Others see such a man and say he is unbreakable, not realizing that his strength was born from obedience to purpose rather than freedom from fear. If you have hesitated, if you have allowed uncertainty to waste your strength, forgive yourself now. Begin again with decision. Say, I will direct my will toward one aim and refuse to divide it. Every thought that contradicts that aim is an intruder in your inner court. Banish it. Every voice that argues for surrender is a traitor. Silence it. Let your mind become a disciplined army, not a restless mob. This turning point where weakness becomes power is not dramatic. The world will not notice when it happens. There will be no applause, no sudden light. There will be no applause, no sudden light. It will come quietly. Perhaps tonight when you whisper to yourself, I will not collapse here, that small decision will carry more weight than 1,000 speeches. For the universe begins to move the instant a man's will stops drifting. You will notice that once decision is made, confusion vanishes. The same work that felt impossible becomes manageable. The same problems that seemed overwhelming become small. It is not the task that changed. It is the man. The man of decision walks differently. He breathes differently. He speaks with authority because he has ceased to contradict himself. Others will sense it, though you say nothing. They will respect your presence without knowing why. Let me tell you a secret known to every builder of great fortunes. Once a man decides his direction, the path reveals itself step by step. He need not know every detail in advance. The plan unfolds as he moves. When you begin walking toward your definite aim, the plan unfolds as he moves. When you begin walking toward your definite aim, opportunities appear as though they were waiting for you to begin. But they cannot appear to the undecided, for nature will not waste her resources on hesitation. Repeat these affirmations often until your mind obeys them as law. I choose my direction. My will obeys my purpose. I step forward even when I fear. I decide, therefore, I advance. The energy you spend wrestling with uncertainty could build an empire if redirected. The same thoughts that drain you could strengthen you if harnessed. Imagine what would happen if every ounce of your doubt were transformed into movement. The world would feel your presence as a rising tide. This is the essence of the redirected will, to turn every inner conflict into fuel. Now let us reason further. When the mind hesitates, the body follows. When the mind decides, the body obeys. Decision is command to the entire system of man. Even the emotions begin to align with the new direction. You may feel fear at first, but the more you act in defiance of it, the weaker it grows. Fear, like darkness, cannot exist where light is introduced. Your decision is the light. I have spoken with men who told me they were waiting for a sign from Providence. They misunderstood the law. Providence gives signs to those who move, not to those who wait. The sign is movement itself. When you take the first step, life reveals the second. When you act, infinite intelligence confirms your decision with opportunity. The greatest respect a man can earn from others comes not from his victories, but from his calm under pressure. The crowd admires the man who decides when all others delay. He becomes the rock around which the waves of confusion crash and break. Such men become leaders not because they seek power, but because power seeks them. The undecided naturally follow the decided. Look at your own life. Think of the moments when you acted boldly even while afraid. Did not strength surge through you afterward? That is the proof that courage is not a gift. It is a result of movement. Every act of decision reinforces identity. The more you decide, the more you believe in your ability to decide, and soon doubt loses its dominion. When I studied the men who built industries and shaped nations, I found this truth repeated. They all reached a moment of exhaustion when they could have stopped. But instead of retreating, they turned inward, discerned inward. decided again, and rose renewed. They transformed weakness into power through the single act of choosing to continue. You stand now at that same crossroad. You have suffered long enough to have earned wisdom. Let that wisdom speak. Say to yourself, I will no longer drift. Let your words be your law. Begin small if you must, but begin. Decide today one thing that will move you closer to your purpose and do it. Do not will move you closer to your purpose and do it. Do not wait for the mood. The mood follows the motion. A man does not feel courageous before the act. He feels courageous because of it. Do not measure your progress by how far you still must go. Measure it by the distance between the man you were and the man who stands now, deciding even this act of listening, of refusing to surrender to despair, is proof of movement. Infinite intelligence does not ignore such defiance. It rewards it. You may think the world resists you, but more often it only mirrors your own hesitation. The moment you stop waiting for certainty and begin to act with decision, the world rearranges itself around your firmness. People respond differently. Opportunities seem to appear by coincidence, but coincidence is the name we give to unseen law in motion. Let me remind you of this eternal principle. The world yields to the man who knows where he is going. The wind favors no sailor until the course is set. Decide your course, and you will find the winds change in your favor. Decide to continue, and new strength will rise from depths you have never touched. If ever you saw these words as law, I decide, therefore I advance. Decision does not promise ease, it promises power. Ease weakens a man. Power enlarges him. You were not created for the comfort of drift, but for the conquest of direction. Those who know you will begin to see the change. They will notice the calm in your eyes, the steadiness of your tone. They will say, something has changed in him, though they cannot name it. What has changed is that you no longer live in reaction. You live by command. The world respects the man who commands himself, for he is rare. Understand that adversity itself becomes your ally once decision is made. Every difficulty sharpens resolve. Every obstacle becomes material for construction. When a man ceases to curse his challenges and begins to use them, he becomes unstoppable. Adversity resisted becomes chains. Adversity accepted and directed becomes the wind that fills your sails. In time, you will see that the power you sought was never beyond your reach. It was waiting for your choice. Infinite intelligence could not act through you while you doubted. For law cannot build upon uncertainty, but once you declared your will, it moved swiftly to supply what was lacking. You are not the servant of circumstance. You are the director of it. This is the great turning point when you understand that weakness is not your enemy, but your invitation to grow. Every limitation you face asks one question. Will you command me or will you serve me? Decide rightly, and every limitation becomes a stepping stone. You may rest now, but not in surrender. Rest only to prepare for movement. Let your heart regain rhythm, your breath regain calm, and your mind settle upon its new decree. The battle is not ended. It has transformed. You are no longer fighting against yourself. You are leading yourself. From this day forth, you are the man who does not retreat. You may bend, but you will not break. You may tire, but you will not yield. You will use every ounce of adversity as material for mastery. Repeat once more before you sleep. My will moves my world. I decide, therefore, I advance. I choose my direction and obey it without fear. You are not waiting for strength. Strength has been waiting for you to decide. The turning point has come. You have crossed the invisible line where weakness becomes power. The man who began this day weary will end it renewed, not because his burden is lighter, but because his will is now directed. The world will feel the change. So will you. You have re-entered the ranks of those who command life instead of enduring it. You have remembered who you are. Now let us proceed to the next stage, where the power you have reclaimed shall be through thought, word, and repetition, until strength becomes a constant flame within you. There is a secret current of power flowing through every man who walks this earth. Few ever learned to tap it. Most collapse long before they discover that strength was never a matter of muscle, nor even of courage. It was a matter of thought. The mind is the furnace in which energy is born, and the words you speak to yourself are the coals that keep that fire alive. When a man grows weary, It is not because his body has failed him. It is because he has ceased to feed his inner flame. I have walked among men who carried mountains of responsibility upon their shoulders, men who commanded armies, men who built empires, men who faced poverty and disgrace. And I found that those who endured longest all shared one practice in common. They had learned the law of renewal, which I call the renewal of the inner flame. It is the process by which a man speaks life into his own spirit. It is not the muttering of blind optimism. It is the deliberate feeding the mind with truth until truth becomes the master of emotion. A weary man does not require rest half so much as he requires meaning. When his purpose is forgotten, fatigue devours him. But when he recalls his purpose and speaks it aloud, his mind stirs as a furnace rekindled. The same fire that once seemed to have died begins to glow again beneath the ashes of dismay. Words simple, firm, and repeat are the bellows that awaken the fire. Understand this law. Thought is the food of courage. Every idea you hold, every phrase you repeat, every belief you allow to remain in your mind either nourishes or starves your strength. The mind cannot draw vitality from contradiction. It demands order. You may not be able to command your emotions at will, but you can command your thoughts. And since emotion is only thought made vivid, by controlling the cause, you gain mastery over the effect. When a man loses heart, it is because his thoughts have turned traitor. He has allowed fear to whisper unchecked, failure to speak without challenge, doubt to sit at his table. He does not realize that his strength leaks away through these silent companions. The remedy is not found in escape, but in instruction. The mind must be taught what to think, and that teaching is done through repetition. I have heard men scoff at repetition, as if repeating truth could weaken it. Yet all of nature repeats herself. The heart beats again and again, and through that steady rhythm, life continues. The waves strike the shore in ceaseless repetition, and through that rhythm they shape the rocks themselves. And if the sea and the heart find power in repetition, should not the mind do likewise? When I speak of affirmations, I do not mean the soft utterances of wishful thinking. I mean declarations of will, commands issued by the conscious mind to the deeper self. They are not pleas. They are orders. You are not begging life to strengthen you. You are instructing your subconscious mind to align with strength. Say it with conviction. I am commanded by purpose. Each word I speak shapes my path. Strength returns to a mind fixed on its aim. I rise because I declare I rise. My thoughts obey my intention. The power of these statements does not lie in the words alone, but in the belief that follows them. You must not merely recite them. You must dwell upon them until they become the language of your mind. You will know they have taken root when they begin to echo without effort. When they rise unbidden in moments of fatigue, that is when the inner flame has been renewed. Let us reason together. The subconscious mind is the silent worker behind every action of man. It is the bridge between thought and infinite intelligence. It responds not to idle chatter, but to emotion joined with conviction. When you repeat a declaration of purpose with feeling, you impress upon this deeper mind an image of what must come to pass. It then sets in motion the unseen currents that restore strength, reorganize thought, and attract opportunity. This is no mystery. It is law. The farmer who plants seeds and waters them daily is not performing magic. He is cooperating with nature's process. The man who plants thoughts of strength and waters them with repetition is doing the same. He cooperates with infinite intelligence to create renewed vigor. Those who neglect this duty allow weeds of doubt to choke their courage. Observe the life of Thomas Edison. He was not born with superhuman strength. He suffered repeated defeats, failures, and ridicule. Yet he spoke and thought in the language of certainty. Each night as his experiments failed, he told himself, "I am one step closer to discovery." That was his affirmation. He refused to speak a failure, and so his mind refused to accept it. The law responded in kind, and his persistence gave the world light. You may say, "But I have tried to think positively before, and still I grew tired." That is because you spoke once or twice and called it faith. True autosuggestion is not a single stroke. It is steady hammering upon the anvil of belief until the shape holds. The first blow does not forge. The steel persistence does. A man must understand that repetition is not meant to convince others. It is meant to convince himself. The world will always test your declarations. It will present delays, losses, and moments of silence to see whether your word remains firm. Every trial you face after speaking your intent is the universe asking, "Do you still believe?" Answer with continued thought, and the test becomes strength. When your faith wavers, retreat to silence and speak again to yourself. My thoughts are my servants, not masters. Say it until the words feel true, for they are true. You have merely forgotten your authority over them. A king may forget his crown, but he remains a king. Likewise, you have always ruled the realm of your mind. You have simply left the throne unattended. Return to it. The man who commands his thought commands his destiny. The moment he disciplines his inner speech, he changes the direction of his life. The weary man who begins to feed his mind with words of courage will soon notice that his steps grow lighter. It will seem mysterious at first, but it is not mystery. It is the natural consequence of new thought becoming habit. Let me show you how it works. Every time you repeat a word of purpose, you create a faint groove in the brain. Repeat it again, and the groove deepens. Eventually, the thought follows that path automatically, just as a river follows its bed. Negative thoughts may still try to intrude, but they find no channel deep enough to flow through. Vision has restructured itself around purpose. I have seen men who were once timid grow bold through this method. I have seen the sick recover energy, the poor discover opportunity, the disheartened find joy, all through the renewal of the inner flame. It is the greatest secret available to man, yet it costs nothing but effort. Let us consider another example. There was a man whose name the world now knows, Henry Ford. He was not educated in the formal sense, but he was a master of thought. His constant declaration was, "I will build a motor car for the multitude." He said it long before he had the means to do so. Every ridicule, every failure, every technical obstacle could not dissuade him, because his inner dialogue had already declared victory. His mind became a channel through which infinite intelligence could flow, and the result was an achievement that changed civilization. You too may do this on whatever scale your purpose requires. The same law that burned in Edison burns in you. You need to ban it. Do not mistake repetition for monotony. The man who tires of repeating his purpose does not yet believe in it. When faith is real, repetition becomes joy. As a lover never tires of speaking affection, so you will find that as your affirmations strengthen, new energy floods work. The tasks that once seemed heavy will become light, for your inner state determines the weight of all things. Now some will ask, how often must I repeat these statements? I answer, until they possess you. Speak them in the morning before the world claims your attention. Speak them at night before sleep carries them into the deeper chamber mind. Speak them whenever doubt arises. Do not count the repetitions. Measure the conviction. Each time you repeat a declaration of strength, imagine the words descending in subconscious mind like seeds planted in fertile soil. Do not dig them up in impatience to see whether they have grown. Simply keep planting, keep watering, and the harvest will come. The man who doubts after planting will see only weeds. The man who trusts the process will one day wake to find his field alive with abundance. Let me give you further instruction on how to practice this law effectively. When you speak, speak slowly with feeling. The subconscious mind understands emotion more readily than reason. Say, I rise because I declare I rise. Feel the truth of it. Visualize yourself standing tall, energy flowing through every fiber. The body responds to the mind's command as surely as an army responds to its general. Do not be concerned if at first your emotions contradict your words. Continue. You are not lying to yourself. You are instructing yourself. Emotions are servants, not rulers. They will obey in time. You are shaping the pattern from which they will be forced to draw their form. Remember this law. The subconscious mind accepts any idea repeated and emotionalized, whether it be true or false. Therefore, be vigilant about what you feed it. Every word of complaint, every statement of weakness, every thought of despair is also a seed. And nature, impartial and precise, will grow whatever you plant. You cannot sow fear and expect courage. Guard the gate of your speech as a priest guards the temple. When discouragement whispers that you have no strength left, Answer it with the authority of your higher self. Strength returns to me now. The power and stars moves through me. Infinite intelligence renews me as I think upon my purpose. The more you speak this language, the more real it becomes, and soon others will sense it too. They will feel the calm confidence radiating from you and wonder what has changed. You need not explain. The transformation of thought speaks louder than words. A man who has renewed his inner flame carries stillness, a certainty that no outward storm can shake. He becomes a light in dark places, and others draw near to that light without knowing why. There is a moral power in such renewal. It does not make a man arrogant. It makes him serene. He ceases to envy others, for he understands that power comes not from circumstance, but from mastery of thought. He no longer blames fate, for he knows he can command his direction. He no longer fears loss, for he has found the source from which all gain proceeds. If you could see the unseen world as I have studied it through years of observation, you would know that every thought is a vibration set into motion. Strong positive thoughts move swiftly and draw to themselves forces of similar nature. Weak negative thoughts move sluggishly and attract delay. The mind that holds a single high purpose creates a magnetic field around itself that gathers conditions suited to its aim. This is not superstition. It is law. You live within it whether you know it or not. Thus, when you renew your inner flame through word and thought, you are not merely cheering yourself. You are aligning with the rhythm of the universe. Infinite intelligence can express itself only through channels that are open. And the mind clouded by self-pity is closed, but the mind filled with faith and purpose becomes a clear conduit through which ideas, strength, and opportunity flow freely. The weary man who begins to practice work that once seemed endless will begin to move with ease. Solutions will appear without strain. He will wonder how he ever lived otherwise. This is the moment when he understands that the law has been working for him all along. It waited only for his cooperation. Let these truths sink deep. Your word is your wand. Your thought is your builder. Your repetition is your hammer. With them, you shape your world. No external condition has power over a mind that feeds itself with deliberate thought. Now pause and ask yourself, what am I telling myself each day? Listen carefully. The answer reveals why you are strong or weary, courageous or afraid. Then change your language. Replace every complaint with command, since at first, as the old habits protest, but persist. Habits yield to will. The renewal of the inner flame does more than restore strength. It restores identity. You begin to see yourself not as a victim of circumstance, but as a creator of circumstance. The man who once said, I cannot, now says, I will. The man who once asked, why me, now declares, for this purpose I was prepared. When you live in this manner, infinite intelligence begins to whisper new ideas to you. It will come as quiet intuitions, sudden clarity, inspirations. Record them and act upon them. They are answers to the commands you have spoken. Do not delay, for thought that is not acted upon fades like mist in the sun. If you continue faithfully in this practice, there will come a day when you no longer need to remind yourself to speak courage. It will speak through you. Your mind will have been so disciplined by truth that falsehood cannot remain within it. The renewal will have become permanent, and from that permanence all success proceeds. So I say to you again, feed your mind daily with strength. Speak as one who has authority. Let your thoughts march in formation toward your definite purpose. When discouragement comes, meet it not with complaint, but with command. When fatigue whispers surrender, answer with faith. When others doubt, remain silent and continue. Repeat now with me, not as empty words, but as living fire. I am commanded by purpose. Each word I speak shapes my path. Strength returns to a mind fixed on its aim. I rise and let these sentences become the pillars of your inner temple. Build upon them daily until your mind becomes a sanctuary of power. And when you have done this faithfully, you will find that the world around you begins to reflect the order within. The weary man you once were will disappear, replaced by a figure of calm determination. His eyes will be steady, his words deliberate, his actions swift. Others will sense that he is guided by something unseen. They will call it luck or talent, but you will know it for what it is, the hidden law that restores strength. From this moment forward, speak life into your purpose. Feed the flame, for every thought you think is a prayer. and every prayer uttered with conviction is answered in kind. The man who masters his inner speech masters his fate. Thus ends the third lesson of endurance. You have learned where strength truly resides, not in the body, not in circumstance, but in the disciplined repetition of truth. Now we shall proceed through the law of steady steps, the art of continuing until destiny yields. The world does not reward the man who begins. It rewards the man who continues. Many start with passion, but few persist with purpose. For enthusiasm is a spark, bright but fleeting. It is endurance that turns the spark into a flame strong enough to survive the winds of adversity. It is not when the path is clear that these words matter, but when the path disappears and only faith remains. I have observed the march of progress through every generation of man, and the pattern never changes. At first comes desire, then decision, then renewal. But between decision and destiny stands the long corridor of adversity. It is the proving ground abandon their purpose, believing fate to be cruel, while the strong learn that adversity was the teacher all along. The path of every great achievement is carved through resistance, and the law that governs success is patient. It will not allow a crown without a cross. Life will test you. It will delay your rewards, confuse your plans, and often bring silence when you expected applause. You will give your best and meet indifference. You will labor for years and find your results small. Yet none of these are signs to stop. They are signs that you are being measured. The law observes who will continue without comfort, who will labor without praise, who will pursue through whom it entrusts the highest works. This principle I call the law of steady steps. It is the unseen law that rewards continued effort. Each day of perseverance is a command sent into the universe saying, I am still here. I have not surrendered my post. Every hour of under hardship draws unseen forces closer to aid. You may not hear the march of those reinforcements, but are coming, always coming, to the man who refuses treat. Understand that persistence is not stubbornness. Stubbornness resists instruction. Persistence obeys purpose. The stubborn man clings to his way even when it leads to ruin, but the persistent man adjusts his path while keeping his aim. He is like a river that bends around stones yet always reaches the sea. When adversity blocks him, he does not waste strength in complaint. He redirects his flow. The steady man becomes formidable because he learns to work with what he has. He does not say, when conditions improve, I will act. He acts, and conditions improve through his movement. Infinite intelligence never strengthens the idle. It multiplies the power of those already in motion. The smallest step forward taken in faith has more value than 1,000 intentions delayed by fear. Consider the life of Charles M. Schwab. He did not leap into greatness. He climbed. He began as a laborer, sweeping floors in a steel mill. But he worked with precision, with faith. He added one more layer to the foundation of his future. When opportunity found him, it recognized its own kind. Consistency meeting consistency. Schwab rose from a humble worker to the head of one of the greatest steel corporations in the world, not because of sudden fortune, but because he understood the law of steady steps. You who listen may think your small efforts mean little. You may believe that progress unseen is progress lost. But life is not a theater. It does not perform for your applause. The roots of a tree grow longest in the dark. So too does strength grow in the unseen hours. Each time you refuse to give up, you deposit a coin into the treasury of destiny. Sooner or later, that treasury will overflow into visible reward. Some will say, but I have persisted and still nothing changes. My friend, it is not the length of your persistence that counts. It is its quality. Some men continue outwardly while their spirit has already surrendered. They prefer not to the motion, but to the mind behind it. You must persist in spirit first, in body second. Repeat these words until they form the marrow of your being. I continue. Each step strengthens my path. My steady movement carves my destiny. You must become as the sculptor who strikes the stone, though no crack appears. Each blow seems fruitless until at last one strike shatters the surface, and all see the statue within. Yet it was not that final blow that revealed the masterpiece. It was every unseen strike before it. So it is with the march through adversity. The day of breakthrough is only the visible result of countless invisible efforts. Adversity is not an enemy sent to destroy you. It is the resistance that develops your strength. A man who has faced no opposition cannot command power, for he has never learned his obstacles not to punish, but to prepare. Each challenge tests whether you have mastered the lessons already. Fail the test, and it returns again. Pass it, and a greater challenge awaits. This is the divine system of education by which souls soar. When you understand this, you cease to curse difficulty. You begin to say, "This is my classroom." You look at each problem not as an insult, but as an invitation. You begin to see that every storm that rises against you brings with it the material of growth. The winds that howl today are shaping the wings that will lift you tomorrow. Think of John D. Rockefeller, a man who began with modest means but achieved mastery over circumstance through calm persistence. When markets collapsed, when others panicked, Rockefeller remained composed. He said, "These are the times when fortunes are made." And while fear paralyzed others, he advanced. His secret was not luck, it was steadiness. His calm under pressure was faith in action. He obeyed the law of steady steps, and fortune obeyed him. To walk steadily through adversity is to become trusted by infinite intelligence itself. The universe entrusts its greater tasks only to the man who cannot be turned aside by trifles. If you wish to command great results, you must prove you can remain faithful under small burdens. Do not despise your present trials. They are the instruments that prove your reliability. Consider the nature of progress. The man who seeks swift results seldom achieves them. Speed without direction is chaos. The wise move deliberately, not because they love slowness, but because true growth cannot be rushed. The oak tree does not become mighty overnight. Its roots descend quietly while its branches wait. When nothing seems to move, it may be because your roots are deepening. Adversity refines two priceless virtues, patience and discipline. Patience keeps a man from wasting energy on complaint. Discipline keeps him from wasting time in distraction. Together, they form the armor of persistence. A man clothed in these cannot be defeated, for he is immune to discouragement. Each morning rise with a single thought. Today I will advance one step closer to my purpose. The man who moves daily in the direction of his goal cannot fail. The world may call him slow, but the law calls him unstoppable. Each day of persistence compounds the next. Imagine a man lifting a single stone every day from the base of a mountain. At first, none would notice. A week, a month, a year would pass, and the mountain would seem unchanged. But come back after 10 years, and the mountain itself bears the mark of his persistence. Adversity often makes a man feel unseen. He believes his effort is lost in the noise of the world, but no act of perseverance goes unrecorded. Infinite intelligence keeps account with perfect accuracy. Every day you persist, even in silence, your strength is being compounded, your future fortified. Consider what happens within the soul of the man who keeps going. His emotions cease to dictate movement. He no longer depends on enthusiasm to carry him. He moves by principle. The novice acts when inspired. The master acts regardless of inspiration. He has learned that feelings are fair weather allies. They vanish when the clouds gather. But the man who lives by decision marches even through the storm, and the storm itself begins to respect him. At a certain point in this march, adversity ceases to feel hostile. It becomes familiar, an old companion. You begin to meet each obstacle with calm curiosity, saying, "Ah, another lesson." Fear diminishes, for you have seen enough storms to know they pass. The same conditions that once made you tremble now make you focus. This is the quiet power of persistence. It transforms anxiety into assurance to the outside world. The man of steady steps appears unshakable. Others cannot see his inner dialogues, his moments of doubt, his silent prayers, but they see his composure and draw strength from it. He becomes a pillar in a world of tremblers. And because the law of attraction brings like to like, other strong souls gravitate toward him, forming what is called a mastermind, a union of faiths and wills that multiplies power beyond measure. Each act of endurance increases your magnetic force. You become a center of gravity around which opportunity revolves. Men will trust you not because you speak loudly, but because they sense stability in your presence. The man who keeps his word under pressure gains a reputation that becomes his greatest asset. Persistence in silence speaks louder than promises shouted in enthusiasm. There will be times when the pace feels painfully slow, days when progress is invisible. In those hours, measure not the miles yet to travel, but the footsteps already taken. The same law that governs the seasons governs success. Spring does not follow winter because the farmer wishes it. It follows because the farmer worked faithfully through the frost. You are the farmer of your own planting because the ground looks barren. The harvest hides beneath it. If you wish to know how others will see you once you master this law, imagine this. You will become the man others turn to when their courage fails. They will say, "He does not speak often, but when he moves, things happen." Your calmness will steady them. Your persistence will remind them of what faith looks like. You will no longer need to declare your strength. It will declare itself through your consistency. Adversity has another gift. It reveals the false from the true within you. It burns away every motive that is not aligned with purpose. When hardship strips you of comfort, it leaves only conviction. And conviction, once purified, becomes unstoppable. This is why many men lose their fortunes, but rise again stronger. They have learned to separate the gold of purpose from the dross of circumstance. Think of the craftsman who polishes a blade. He does not curse the friction of the stone. He depends upon it. Without resistance, the blade remains dull. Without challenge, character remains soft. If you wish to cut through limitation, you must embrace the grind that sharpens you. It is easy to speak of persistence when the sun shines, but true persistence is proven when the night grows long. Faith untested is mere talk. Faith preserved through adversity is power incarnate. Each time you continue, even when you feel empty, you affirm to the universe that you are ready for greater responsibility. You show not to comfort, but to calling. Infinite intelligence never entrusts great missions to those who seek ease. It reserves them for those who can walk wounded and still move forward. If you find yourself weary of the journey, remind yourself that you are part of a lineage of men who refuse to yield. Edison worked by candlelight. Through the silence of failure, Lincoln rose from repeated defeat to unify a nation. Carnegie climbed from poverty to build an empire of steel. Their secret was not genius. It was persistence. The same law that elevated them stands ready to elevate you. You are closer to triumph than you think. The law of life often hides the moment before reward behind a final curtain of trial. That last obstacle, that final weight upon your shoulders, exists only to test whether you have truly decided. The majority falter there, mistaking the nearness of victory for impossibility. But those who push once more, those who say, "I continue," find that the curtain falls away and the path. "You have done enough," answer firmly. "I have done much, but not all." When fatigue pleads for rest, reply, "I rest only after completion." When failure mocks, say, "Your voice is faint, for I walk in purpose." There is a dignity in persistence that few ever taste. It gives a man inward peace, knowing that he has obeyed the highest law of success, continuance. He ceases to measure life by results alone and begins to measure it by faithfulness. This is freedom. Say these words now with conviction. I continue. Each step strengthens my path. My steady movement carves my destiny. Let them become the rhythm for your march. With each repetition, you take another step toward mastery. In the end, the march through adversity does more than deliver you to your goal. It delivers you to yourself. You discover what kind of man you are. You learn that nothing outside can destroy what is anchored within. You become your own certainty in a world of change. So hear this, friend. Do not count the years. Do not count the miles. Count only the steps you continue to take. The man who walks through the storm, step by step, will one day stand in clear sunlight. The world may wonder how he endured, but you will know. You know that quiet, steady persistence is the greatest miracle of all. Having walked this long road through hardship, you arrive at the summit, not as the same man who began the journey, but as a man reborn through endurance. When a man continues in faith while all evidence tells him to stop, something deep within him shifts forever. He no longer fights for results alone. He fights because fighting has become his nature. His identity is no longer shaped by circumstance, but by mastery of self. The man who began hoping to survive ascended into what I call the crown of endurance. This crown is not given by the world. It is earned steadfastness. It is not worn upon the head, but shines within the soul, visible only through the eyes of those who have passed through fire and refused to fall. You have carried burdens unseen, faced nights of silence, stood upright under forces pressing down. That unseen endurance has built a strength the eye cannot measure. You can feel it even now. A quiet certainty, a still power, a sense that you are no longer at the mercy of events. This is the gift of endurance. The man who keeps going crosses a line invisible to others but unknowable to himself. Adversity no longer terrifies him. Pain still comes, but fear departs. Fatigue still visits, but despair no longer lingers. He walks with calm assurance. No failure can destroy him. No delay can deter him. Opinion can define him. This is mastery, not freedom from difficulty, but freedom from disturbance by difficulty. Look back at the path you have walked. You faced what weaker men fled from. You continued when surrender seemed merciful. You stood before locked doors of destiny and knocked again. Each act of persistence carved upon your character the mark of a conqueror. The world will soon see the results, but infinite intelligence already sees the transformation. Success is not acquired. It is become. Consider Lincoln. He faced failure after failure, ridicule, and personal grief. Yet from these defeats he drew humility, patience, and inner steel. When the hour demanded leadership, he was ready, not because life had been kind, but because he had mastered hardship. Consider Carnegie. Born into poverty, working in mills as a child. Hardship was his teacher. Every setback was a lesson. Through steady purpose and continuous self-instruction, he transformed himself. Failures did not make him cynical. They made him curious. Only a man crowned by endurance speaks with such serenity. Patience with difficulty turns resistance into revelation. Each mistake illuminates the next step. The light he brought was not merely electrical, it was the light of enduring faith made visible. You now stand among these men in principle. The law that lifted them operates through you. You have obeyed the command to continue. You have paid the tax of destiny with perseverance. Pressure has purified your faith. You are no longer the man who began this journey. You've become something more, one who commands his own mind. The man reborn through endurance carries quiet authority. He no longer rushes. He knows what is meant for him will arrive in season. He no longer seeks approval. He has tasted the dignity of self-respect. He no longer fears solitude. He has met himself and found a friend. He walks as one who has discovered the source of power within. Understand what has changed, but they feel it. His presence steadies the air around him. He speaks few words, but each carries weight. He does not promise, he performs. He does not seek followers, he attracts them. The world always bows to the man who bows first to his purpose. This transformation is not accidental. Faith, desire, decision, persistence, and purpose are not separate. They are stages of a single process. They begin as thoughts, mature as habits, and culminate as identity. When you repeated your affirmations, when you kept walking while tired, when you refused to retreat, you were sculpting yourself. Each act of endurance was a chisel shaping the new man. Now look inward and recognize what you have built. Doubts that once shouted now whisper. Fears that once led now follow. Confusion that once clouded your days has cleared. You are no longer moved by moods or circumstance. You are governed by purpose, aligned with infinite intelligence, obedient to your own decision. This is power, the quiet kind that cannot be taken because it cannot be given. The old you sought strength from comfort, praise, or validation. The new you draws strength from within. Calm is earned, not borrowed. Capacity is independent of circumstance. The storms that once threatened walking through the same streets, seeing the same world, yet everything feels different. Where once you saw obstacles, you see opportunities. Where once you felt fear, you feel curiosity. Where once you asked, "Can I?" you now declare, "I will." The world has not changed. Your consciousness has. This is the ultimate victory of endurance. Fate bends itself around your new strength. Infinite intelligence rearranges conditions to match the new vibration of your mind. Remaining struggles are no longer punishments. They are invitations to mastery. The man who has learned to endure does not seek a life free from challenge. He welcomes trials as opportunities to refine his craft. The crown of endurance grants another gift, compassion. Having suffered, the new man understands the hidden battles of others. He no longer judges, he strengthens. He no longer despises, he lifts. Strength becomes a bridge to mankind, a source of faith for those who have lost their own. This is how the great leaders of history were born, not from privilege, but from pain. They endured until they discovered that life's hardest blows were not meant to destroy, but to disclose power. They became instruments of encouragement, channels through which infinite intelligence uplifts others. When you wear the crown of endurance, you join that sacred fraternity. Repeat these affirmations not as words, but as confirmations of your new identity. I rise above every challenge. My endurance defines my greatness. I walk in purpose. I have mastered myself, and therefore I command my destiny. Speak them slowly, deliberately. You are no longer trying to believe them. You are affirming words. Let them anchor the new rhythm of your mind. You have crossed from hoping into knowing. The man who has emerged from adversity with faith intact carries a power that money cannot buy and misfortune cannot steal. His wealth lies in his stability. He can begin again at any moment, for he has learned that success is not stored in possessions, but in consciousness. Take everything from such a man, and he will rebuild, for he carries within him the pattern of progress. There is a passage in the law of life that most overlook. Every hardship faced with courage deposits energy in the soul that can never be lost. That energy, once accumulated, becomes intuition, confidence, and wisdom. It is why the man of endurance seems to act with unexplainable assurance. He no longer debates. He knows. He no longer fears loss. He understands abundance. He no longer prays for easier conditions. He prays for greater capacity. From this moment forward, you are that man. Do not look for signs of arrival. Recognize that you have already arrived. You have walked through every stage that greatness demands. You have desired, decided, believed, persisted, and renewed. You have proven to infinite intelligence that you can be trusted with power. Now the outer rewards will begin to the inner transformation. But do not chase them. Let them come. The man who runs after results still doubts his own magnetism. The man who walks in faith draws results to him naturally. You will notice changes in how others treat you. Some will admire you. Others will envy you. A few will misunderstand you. None of that matters. The new man is not concerned with perception. He is concerned with principle. His peace no longer depends on applause. He seeks only to fulfill his purpose with excellence, to complete each task as though infinite intelligence itself were observing, which indeed it always is. When you live in this manner, work becomes worship and endurance becomes joy. You no longer dread the hours of labor. You see them as opportunities to express mastery. You no longer complain about the mountain, you relish the climb. For you know now that ease weakens, but effort strengthens. You have ceased to wish for comfort is the counterfeit of progress. There will still be storms, but they will no longer shake you. You will walk through them as one who understands their purpose. You will see the hand of infinite intelligence, even in disappointment. The events that once angered you will now instruct you. Every loss will point to a hidden gain. Every delay will prepare a better result. The new man sees perfection where the old punishment. When you meet those still trapped in doubt, you will not argue with them. You will live as proof. Your conduct will speak what your words once tried to teach. You will become a living example of what persistence, faith, and purpose can do when united in a single mind. And in your calmness, others will find courage. Do not underestimate your transformation. Every soul that witnesses your endurance is silently strengthened. Every man who sees you continue will remember in his own hour of struggle that such perseverance is possible. Thus, your endurance becomes not only your salvation, but your service to the world. The crown of endurance also grants vision. You begin to sense the unfolding of life's design. You understand that nothing happens in isolation, that every event is a thread in a divine pattern weaving your destiny. You cease to fight the flow, for you realize you are part of it. This understanding brings peace. This understanding brings peace so profound that no outer chaos can disturb it. As you walk in this awareness, gratitude replaces complaint. You look upon your past struggles and say thank you. You look upon your present challenges and say continue. You look toward the future and say, I am ready. That is the language of the new man, the language of mastery. Let me remind you, the purpose of this entire journey was not merely to help you succeed, but to reveal to you who you truly are. You are not flesh struggling against fate. You are spirit expressing through form. You are not a victim of life's conditions. You are the condition by which life expresses its greatness. The same power that moves the stars moves through your veins. The same intelligence that designed the universe guides your steps. When you realize this fully, you cease to ask for miracles, for you understand that you are one. The man who has reached this understanding no longer asks, will I succeed? He asks only, am I faithful? For he knows that faithfulness ensures success in its own time. He does not measure himself by the calendar or the ledger, but by the steadiness of his soul. That steadiness is the sign that the crown of endurance has been set upon his brow. Now, before we close, speak this final series of affirmations aloud, not as one seeking power, but as one acknowledging it. I am no longer who I was. I have mastered the storms that once mastered me. My purpose governs me. My faith sustains me. I am a man who continues until my work is complete. I walk with calm authority, for I know infinite intelligence works through me. Let these words echo in your heart. They are not aspirations. They are declarations of fact. You have endured, therefore you have earned. And now, as you stand upon the other side of struggle, take a moment of silence. Feel the stillness that comes when resistance ends. Not because the battle is over, but because you have transcended it. You are not fighting life anymore. You are cooperating with it. This is victory. From this day forth, walk as the new man, steady, grateful, unshakable. Do not seek to escape difficulty. Seek to express mastery through it. Do not wait for perfect moments. Create them by your attitude. Wherever you go, bring your calm. Whatever you touch, leave better than you found it. Whoever you meet, remind through your example that persistence is divine, for destiny bows only to the man who endures. The storms may return, the nights may darken. The body may grow weary, but the soul that has learned to continue remains unconquerable. You have earned your place among those who refuse to break. You have joined the silent brotherhood of the steadfast, the builders, the believers, the men who keep going when others stop. Your journey is not ending here. It is beginning anew. The man you have become is now ready to create, to lead, to serve, to inspire. Walk in that purpose. Speak with that authority. Live with that faith. For you have discovered the truth that so few ever realize, that all power, all peace, and all progress begin in one decision to continue. You have continued. Therefore, nothing in heaven or earth can now stand against. Thank you for listening until the end of the video. If you found it helpful, hit subscribe so you won't miss the next business lessons. Share your startup idea in the comments. I'd love to hear your story and learn together. See you in the next video on Listen to Get Rich.